Thank you all for coming, and thank you all our distinguished guests for joining us for the panel. So this panel is about AI. So since generative AI has become such a buzzword, I actually want to hear about your opinions about this first, and then maybe you can also do a little bit of introduction for yourself. Just keep it short because we have limited time. And also, are you seeing any changes in your teams, your organizations, as this trend has been emerging? Yeah.
Is that on? Yes, right. Hi, Regina. Pleasure. Thanks for inviting. My name is Peng. Quick introduction. I'm working for Audi China as technology strategy, innovation responsibility, and for strategic partnerships. So in that role, always trying to get in touch points with the newest technology and the impacts on the automotive industry per se. Talking about AI, I would say definitely has a huge impact for us in the industry. But actually since many years already, because we have been dealing with, for example, autonomous driving already, right? Which is based on artificial intelligence as well. The new AI revolution when it comes to generate content will definitely have other implications for us, which we will have to figure out and see how this will not only maybe change the product itself, but it could change as well our business model in the future and the way we collaborate in general in the company. So this, I think, will be the biggest turning point for us as well. Yeah.
Interesting. And Allan from Sense, are you observing anything?
Yeah, Sense is actually an integrated resort, compiling of multiple hotel, dining, entertainment, shopping, as well as a compact business in terms about for traveler. So on AI, as what just mentioned about, AI is actually not a really new technology for the technical person, but in terms about why this even new evolution this year is about AI being on touch on the customer base, on a customer facing, on a public one. So being an evolution of more people actually talking about it, being an evolution about people more using about it. And then as a marketing department or as a marketing team, we leverage AI to create content so that we can actually create more personalization content for our customers in order to reach them. They look into the content, they look into all the channels as well. It's actually, the content actually looks into is so fit to me on that part. This is what we are actually leveraging AI technology in terms of content creation this year. Yeah.
Well, first of all, thanks very much for the invitation. Great to be in a corporate event. I'm being able to welcome with very different informal attire and bring the startup vibe here. So my name is Ramos. I'm a partner in a global venture capital fund. Investing in early stage technology. So in our case, looking at a technology, AI, and many other technologies is something that we do constantly. We're exploring what is the next thing. So when everybody's talking already about AI, it's not that it's already phased out for us, but it's something that we've been already active for many years, investing in many companies, and now, well, some of the things that we've been investing in suddenly make sense. And this whole idea of leveraging data to be able to automate is one of the ways that technology can scale and can make more customized or accessible, or sometimes just simply be able to do certain things that in any case would not be possible. So I think the real revolution, I totally agree with what Allan said, is not so much about technology, it's more about awareness and about consumers and organizations being more open to use the technology. And that is a tipping point, because one of the key elements of AI and any type of data-driven technologies is that more information, more data makes the system better. And if the system becomes better, then you use it more. So you create that type of a virtual loop that will basically change many industries and many parts of the operations.
Interesting. Following your point of view, I also wanted to know, and this is a question for Audi and Zeng. So since your business are both centered around customer experience, what specific AI, generative AI use cases do you see having the biggest impact in the near future? So both of you have mentioned things like content management, creation. Is there anything besides that, or is there a specific focus within their area, if not too confidential to share? Yeah.
So maybe starting from automotive perspective and then how we see. I think what is very clear for auto business, since we are facing the world of autonomous driving and different concept itself for cars. We're talking about cars becoming more and more living spaces, not only a mobility space like before. So this, I think, is one of the foundations we have to see in the future. And secondly, what we saw already in the existence development since I would say 7-8 years is how a car can move from A to B by itself. This is autonomous driving. This is based, you can argue, on AI, but it's a kind of different technology path because it's not correlation stochastics based on data like a generative AI because it's safety relevant. So I cannot say I make a wrong proposal because then we have an issue. So this kind of AI technology will be more precision based. Where the ChatGPT and correlation based AI, artificial intelligence will come, I think where we are looking at the direction is how in this living space where maybe from A to B people are moving automatically, autonomously, there will be proposals for further user experiences, right? And then this proposals basically would say the car can propose you to go maybe this way, make a stop there, maybe open up windows for you on a proposal basis, and you just need to confirm. This kind of use cases, I think, can heavily use the new artificial intelligence now becoming more prominent, and with better data is becoming more better recommendations, and this would definitely enhance the living space what we talked in the beginning, right? So these are use cases we as one possible path we'll look deeper into, for example, whether this is possible based on the new technology and more data be generated for this kind of experience in the cars.
Yeah, I think just now we mentioned about the contents about driven by AI on that part. I'm lucky enough, we are actually leveraging the technology. But we are actually, as a business, on the service business, as a travel business, we are not creating a new technology on that one. So to answer the questions in terms about what will be the next AI, a very funny conversation is actually before we starting to use AI for generating content this year. The first few internal customers have been actually approaching us is about the legal side on that part. So we're talking about a lot of things being generated through the AI, the content through the AI, who's the copywriting on that part. And then in legal, being actually about concern about those content, what we actually using AI to generate content. Are we actually protecting our data enough? So definitely as a company, I think besides using technology, the first step is actually we are doing the risk management on that part. So in terms about the AI content that we are actually leveraging on, I think one of the next steps is actually how AI will be legally protected, or this is the next step people will actually need to discuss in the next step.
Yeah, very profound view. And for SOSV, as an investor, what trend do you observe, like in the startup area? And is there any interesting startup that you have seen lately you can share with us?
Sure. Since we're looking at startups everywhere on everything, and, but since we're talking about generative AI, I'll answer a bit around this specific area, this specific topic. Try to give some clarity, because one of the feelings sometimes both on the startup side but also on the client side is that the dominance of such a large company as OpenAI is basically solving everything, and that's like, well, that's going to be one company to rule them all, there's no opportunity for any other startup to do anything in that space, or there's no need for any organization to have more companies. Actually, I don't think that's the case. I think that that obviously this is a very powerful tech company. That's a company that is going to be used by many organizations to build more on top of that. But there's also gaps and there's also opportunities to create more specific value propositions in different areas and following different angles. So just as three examples that we can use to illustrate and quoting some of the companies that we're working closely, following our talk, no? and being consistent with what we think. One of the areas, for example, is hyper-localization. One of our companies called EX1 is the leading company in the Arabic world for generative AI. They've been working already with multiple companies because at the end of the day, data is important, but you need to be able to understand the data. You need to be able to also use that data to generate any output that would be valuable for the organization. And in this case, when we're talking about Arabic languages, there are multiple dialects that have very little nuances sometimes that can change the meaning. And if the input is already not accurate, it's impossible that you're going to have a reliable input. No? So in the case of this company, one of the key elements of key differentiations is the NLP engine that allows them to understand properly what's going on. And I think this same application is going to happen based on languages, based on very specific domains of expertise, and probably there could be more areas. A second example where we're also seeing very good traction in that space is the application on very different types of media. No? And in this case, I'd like to mention one of our companies called Videoverse. Videoverse is the most funded company in the world in the video generative AI applications. A company from India developing their business globally that managed to realize that video was going to be a very important element. And 5 years ago, they already started to work on this area. They were lucky to start working with Douyin, with TikTok, and that gives them access to that data that allow them today to be able to have this video processing tool in a way that is not just very advanced from a technology point of view, but is actually very advanced from a value proposition for their customers. It's an AI company that is fully profitable. They raised $50 million in the last round of funding, and they didn't use any of the results. So it's also a very good example of how companies from emerging markets with a very strong deep tech angle, but thinking about the customer and thinking about how to drive results are all going to be able to create big value if they specialize in one key area. And just to finalize, and connecting a bit more with the topic of applications in different industries, I think that looking very specific in domains or industries, we're also going to be able to see applications that they might seem a bit narrow in some cases, but with potential applications across multiple industries. No? And in that case, we have a company out of Hong Kong called NewFast, leveraging video interviews, analyzing also data to be able to help organizations better understand their candidates, better understand their current employees' performance. And through that analysis, not only they're able to get that understanding, they're also able to generate recommendations on what are your HR gaps, what are the areas where your team could spend some energy to improve and deliver better.
Thanks for sharing. And I think all the technologies you just mentioned are deeply rooted in the business. And there we have to come back to a previous point of Allan. So what do you think, how do you think companies can balance between AI-empowered customer experience and concerns around data privacy and also some other issues? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Allan mentioned a very important topic as a framework going forward and how to use this kind of technologies for us in the future, because we are facing a similar problem, especially in our automotive sector, because we are able to collect a lot of data. We're the ones who's moving around, right? And as Oscar said as well, the future will be determined to a certain way how data can be collected, quality data be collected, feeding into models again, getting better customized data on the person itself, or even on the general approaches. And we are facing, actually, because a lot of people are trying to talk to us, it's just like, hey guys, you actually can get great data, right? I mean, even 10 years ago, we were the first ones bringing, as the automotive industry complete, bringing sensors into our windshields, so that when it starts to rain, you will clean your window by itself. It's already data-based, and this kind of data was actually asked as well to provide to other companies who can generate other algorithms or different kind of services based on that. So the legal framework will be a huge challenge for us to tackle. Me personally, I see already some initiatives, especially in Europe, whether this is Italy or maybe discussions on European Union base, how to regulate actually this use of technology, so that it will not, for example, getting into privacy concerns. And this will lead for me automatically into like on comparison on region-based US, Europe, Asia, who is willing to do a bit more, like say experimenting, who is a bit more on the conservative side. And based on that, we can lay the right, let's say, strategies for each company, what kind of data to able to be collect, how to utilize data for own services and products, and maybe providing this as well to external partners, how they can generate other services and products based off that. So I think this is the balance we have to see, and as we are really now becoming a very prominent topic, the AI base, much more people and multi-stakeholders in the society will deal with that. The politics, for the first time, will probably deal with that in some countries. Some others will deal with that. And then you will have a foundation to guide the way for I think, technology companies and product companies like us. This is how I see probably the direction. I don't know if you see similar.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I think one of the things on the AI that actually driven on the legal perspective in terms of our, for sense is actually using. For example, on the output part about content generations, we try to use AI to actually groups a lot of different contents together. That actually is not a privacy issue, because they're actually in terms about on public using about those kind of data, we are pretty safe on that area. But in terms about if we want to actually collect customer preferences, those kind of things on that part, that becomes an issue that we actually need to, because on AI, on that data collections, you've been actually collecting more. And the speaking, before we're doing a lot of things in terms about digital. For example, if you need to sign up mobile apps, if you need to join in certain memberships, you need to actually sign up a TNC on that part in order to say that, oh, this kind of data and all those data will be actually being protected as on the TNC as a law on that part. But with the AI driven, on that part, the multiple area, the multiple functions about using or collecting those kind of data becomes really a challenge in terms about on the future on that part. As a big company on that part, organizations, we rather on the technology, we pay it more safe on that area. So we need to actually look into how we can actually be more safe or actually be protected as the first goal first on that part. And then on the next step, we see how the market is actually reacting on that. Yeah. Thanks.
You know, I think that privacy obviously is a very big issue, and as everything from a startup perspective or a VC perspective, when we see a problem, we see an opportunity for investment. Yeah. So right now, there's more and more companies that are in that space trying to find solutions. No, there's on one side you have companies working on the data that will be used to train the algorithms. All the synthetic data companies anonymizing and reducing all the potential sensitive information and allowing all the organizations to be able to use data without getting into any problems of compromises. But on the other side, you also have alternatives to use the value of the data without actually owning data. No, these zero-party data solutions. So, in general, I think that's one of the keys. No, like always for any problem, there's going to be solutions, and innovation is going to help drive whatever is going to be valuable for organizations and users.
Great. So you all mentioned that you would start with a pilot with a safer use case first, and then tap into more spaces after that. So for your pilot cases, so how do you think companies can measure the success of these pilot projects, and what specific metrics, for example, would you use?
I mean, For me, it would be very simple because we are a very B2C based customer facing company. So the measurement most important is customer experience, their satisfaction, product feedback, features. We have multiple channels to be able to test that, whether this is in the early phase development through our own processes, or later definitely in the market success if you get the right feedbacks, right? I would say, and this you can clearly see today here in China, because in some of the competitor environment, and as well we see from technology partners, providing AI to, for example, be able to say, hey, open that window, turn my seats and stuff like that. This is already getting a lot of positive customer feedbacks we will have to apply into our products. This is no questions. And then together with the right partners, maybe we can then brainstorm, and as well with startups, as you said, they are actually very solution driven, right? So they see a problem, they try to solve that problem immediately. And with this kind of guys, we are able to then tackle other use cases and problems we can get. So our customer will be always the first line for us for positive feedbacks and to measure success.
I have a follow-up question for this. So how are you usually collecting feedback from your customers?
I mean, there are, for example, data-driven ones as well in the car, in the industry available. There are obviously, we have a lot of touch points, customer touch points through dealer networks, for example, as well. There are satisfaction service. There are, I think automotive business is quite, let's say, mature and established in measurements of this. And you have different JD Power and all this kind of measure tools where we get feedbacks on different aspects, whether this is quality, satisfaction, service oriented and stuff like that. This is how we are doing. At the same time, obviously, data-driven measures are providing big opportunities, and this is where I think everyone's looking into as well. Yeah.
Great. So how about Sans?
Yeah, I think one of the things on a measurement on that part is actually easy for us as well, because we are actually not looking at about innovating a lot of things, big change. But in terms about on the stage right now, we are actually, for example, content. I'm back in the topic about content. We're creating content by multiple team members at the same time. Right now, how can we actually internally or externally, how can we measure about helping our team members to maybe work more efficiency on that part? That is about the measurements, about time on that part. A great measurements in terms about easy measurement, how we can save up the team members' time, or how, in terms about on externals, about customers, on the customer side, it's easy. We have certain measurement as well. For example, on the content side, how many people are actually engaging on the new AIGC content being created on that part, comparing with our team members who are actually creating the content as a marketer, creating a content. How comparing is about our engagement in before and after. That's a key measurement, because we are not innovating new KPIs on those measurements. In terms about internals, about the time of saving, in terms about we brought reach into more customers on the time saved that we can actually, on the customer facing side, is even more easier on that part. How are we actually engaging with the customers with the existing KPI that we can actually measure already? Yeah, thank you.
You know, I actually think this is a very, very, very important question. Very important question, because I know that not all the initiatives in terms of innovation resolve around status. There are multiple organizations, cooperation with other large established companies, technology centers, etc. But in the case of status, we actually spend a lot of time trying to understand exactly what are the criteria for success. And I mean, we're engaged with over 200 multinationals in different models of innovation. Some of them, they are investors in our fund. Some of them we work in a more structured way. Sometimes it's just through our portfolio management work with our own portfolio companies working. And this becomes a really, really critical element. And what you said, I think is the most important. Like at the end of the day, this is not about reinventing results. It's about reinventing solutions. And if you already know that something works and that's what happens, I think the first wave is like, can we optimize what we have? Can we make it 10 times cheaper, 10 times faster, 10 times better without having to reinvent anything? And once we have that initial quick win and this opportunity, then we can move into let's do new things. Yeah. But I think this is so important. And sometimes is not. I don't think people do understand how challenging, because if you don't know what is the definition of success, you're never going to be successful.
I totally agree. On the innovative, not only about AI, when we're doing digital transformations on that part. The first step, a lot of customers have been, throughout the forum this few days, a lot of been discussing about how to transform from a traditional business into digital on that part. How are you actually evolving into your internal or inspiring your internal teams about on the company culture, how to make it innovative on that part. I totally agree saying that on the first step, we try to solve the challenge we are having right now or about a pinpoint that we actually cannot solve right now. So for example, if the operation has something that they cannot solve right now or using a long period of time, you use technology, we use AI to help them to solve it. And then they immediately they see the result in terms about that part. So that's a totally agree. We are actually working on the same way in terms about solutions actually helps on. And then as a first step, not saying that we want to actually do a new technology and then we see far on the result on the future on that part. But immediately, some of the things can already using technology to actually immediately result, immediately solve the operations immediately as well on that part. We are actually as well. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe just to be the bad guy here, no? But sometimes when I talk with my startups and they say, hey, no, we're working with these companies, and well, at the end of the day, a large organization, an established company, there's four things that they want. I mean, you want to drive more revenue. Yeah. You want to reduce your expenses. You want to be compliant because obviously that's important. Otherwise, you will not be allowed to play. And then the fourth thing, that's the most critical, no? And it's like sometimes organizations, they want to look cool. And that's good. I mean, everybody has the right to look cool. But that's very dangerous because what is cool now is not going to be cool maybe next month or next year. So if you build your value proposition only on that short-term type of a use case, you're not going to be able to have very long-term relationship with this customer. So you need to figure out how looking cool converts into better driving more revenue, reducing expenses, or I don't know if looking cool and compliant go together, but at least the other two are very relevant.
In terms about smart, spending the budget smart in terms of our big organizations on that part, as I mentioned about, are we doing something just cool for a short period of time, or we are trying to solve a technology or trying to solve a operation things for a long period of time. So in terms about on the budget, we are spending on the technology side. I just mentioned about the ping pong that we are trying to solve the issue through technology. No matter how through a technology side or no matter how through a hire more team members to actually solve the issue, we need to spend all those money on that part. But at the same time, using technology to solve those kind of ping pong can actually be leveraging and being a more long-term. I always talk about Lego. Is it talking about it with the innovative teams about Lego? Is this a Lego part that we actually add it on one, and then in the future we can add it on another one? Or we are actually building up something only just for one on that part? Are we already building a Lego for a big giant house on that part? But once you we invest on it, one part by one part, you can actually build it up on that way. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you all for your very insightful sharing. And last but not least, I have an interesting question for you. So what would be the one thing that you want AI to empower immediately?
Why I have to go first on this one? No, but actually, I mean, seriously, I think what I feel like AI should be empowering, especially in our automotive industry, is really like the experience of the people while moving from A to B. Because I think there is so much potential for optimizing. Spending, especially if you drive around in Europe of the 4 hours on the highways and stuff like that. I think AI could improve this experience, whether from efficiency perspective, comfort perspective, safety perspective. It can empower a lot. And this is what I hope AI will bring to the industry, definitely.
Yeah. Just now we talked about a lot of AI, driven about AI, GC content. A lot of things that have been actually created because of the AI. The popular about AI, they created a lot of problems on the legal issue. I make it more greedy. Let the AI I wanted AI to solve the legal issue on the next step on that part. So how are they going to solve the next step on the legal issue that actually can be more powerful for them to go even further in the future? Yeah.
For me, is one of our core theses of investment, and I think what I want AI to do is help individuals with economic independence. Helping, thanks to AI, I think people should be able to have more access to resources and also better services for themselves. Customization, lower cost access. So I think AI should be a driver of that quality of life for individuals, helping organizations being more efficient, helping with more customization of what they do.
Great, and I hope AI can also do my PPT as well. And thank you all for sharing today. Yeah, and thank you all for joining. Thank you.